Oh, is it?
All right. Hey, Moira. Good morning. Good
Still here.
morning. You're here. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we've got a little group at the moment. We'll see if anybody else is going to join us along the way, because it sometimes happens that people come in after the kickoff of the call, but that's okay. We're all here. So, what I would love to do, I'm just going to mute you guys just momentarily, just so that my preamble or my frame up is kind of clear for the people that catch up on the replay. And because I always load these calls up onto YouTube and put them into the group, I can see who's watching them, and a lot of people actually go back and watch them. And it's one thing that I've learned about, getting work out there into the world, is that people need a lot of touch points. They call them, they come in and they kind of lurk around the edges, and they dip in where they can. And a lot of people will watch replays rather than coming into a live space until they feel like they can. So I'm more than happy to keep going with these calls, and keep recording them and keep putting them up, and just noticing that a lot of people are watching them and getting benefit from what we share in these calls. So for me, what's been cooking, what's alive, right? I mean, we just had a little bit of a conversation just before I hit record, and that can be definitely a place that I can start with a frame. That this work has enabled me to do life, right? To do life powerfully. To do life powerfully, to relate to myself, others, the world, and life powerfully. And I love it when these little cliches come up, right? And I was in this day and age, right? That's the one that just dropped into my mind. In this day and age, in this current climate, that's saying something, right? It really is saying something. Because as we were just a brief discussion before I hit record, things are getting pretty gnarly out there with the cost of living, right? And the after effects, the aftermath of what we went through, what we all experienced globally, which was the COVID pandemic, right? And whatever your views are on that, it doesn't matter. It was still something that humanity navigated alongside one another, right? We were all in that. no one was exempt. No one had a get out of jail free card from that particular event, right? And I think we will be seeing the after effects or the aftermath of that experience for many, many years to come. Not only financially, but emotionally, in terms of the mental health space, physically, in terms of what's showing up in people's bodies, spiritually. A lot of people who were sort of sitting on the fence of diving into work that might not have drawn them in before are now feeling drawn, right? Because they're looking for something, right? They're seeking. And that's great news. Right, it's great news because it means that they're more likely to open into something else, right? Something different. And what I've been putting out just recently is all about time, because that's a huge barrier, a huge restriction, limitation in our lives is don't have enough time, right? All of these things that we wish that we could be doing or that we would love to be doing if only we had more time, right? I'd go to the dance class, I'd exercise more, I'd have a partner or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or, I'd have a closer connection with my mother or my children or whatever it is for you, because we've all got something, right? We've all got something sitting there that we would be doing if only we had more time. Right? We all have that. And the interesting thing is, and I haven't actually shared about this particular piece yet, the way that we create more time is to do the things where we lose time. Right? The things that we love, where we've been doing something and then 2 hours have gone by and you're like, whoa, 2 hours have gone by, Those are the things that we need to be doing, because that's how we create more time. And it's not that we actually create more time because there's only 24 hours in the day, and there's, 7 days in the week and all of that, but to expand and extend our experience of time is what I'm talking about. Creating those moments where time stands still. Yeah. And I remember a coach friend of mine who is a very onto it dude, and he said, the insanity of humanity, which there are many things that you could say about what the insanity of humanity is, but the insanity of humanity is that we do things that we don't like, right? We do a job that we don't like. We hang out with people that we don't really like, right? We put ourselves in circumstances and situations and do things that we don't like, that don't light us up, right? We go and do a job, we live our lives doing stuff like adult stuff. Well, I've got to pay the bills and I've got to be responsible and I've got to, got to keep the house tidy, right? All this shit that just doesn't matter in the scheme of things, because everything that we learn is backwards, right? Now I remember, I'll just wrap this piece off because I really want to hear how you guys are doing. But I saw a Gary V video, and a young boy, 17 years old I think he was, and he said, Gary, what would you give as a piece of advice to your 17-year-old self? And he pretty much said what I'm saying. Go out and do the things you love. Go out and spend a decade doing the things you love. In a decade's time, right, you can always go and get that job, right, that everybody's telling you to get now, but just do the things that you love now. And what I have discovered through the work that I do, that you guys have all had a taste of, is that when you do the things you love, what you're trying to get the job for actually follows anyway, right? It follows anyway. Yeah, it's magic. So time I've been talking about. The other thing that I'm going to start talking about very soon is permission, right? The power of permission. Yeah, and that does weave into the theme of time, because how much time do we waste waiting our life away, not doing the things that we would love to be doing, not giving ourselves permission to do these things? So a couple of big themes that I'm sitting with at the moment, and I'll be getting those out there in an offering really soon, which is very, very exciting. And there is an offer out there, which I know a couple of you have been have got your hands on, in terms of the level 1 program, because the content that I have offered as a mini program is from level 1. Yeah, so that piece around time is a little mini program where you might not have seen it yet, but $47 to get you some epic content around the concept, the theme of time. So what's happening with you guys? We're on a group coaching call. That's what we're here for. And the way that rolls is to share what's alive, get some insight, right? Get some powerful insight through the lenses of this work, right? That we begin to orientate ourselves away from feeling like a victim to our environment, right, to our circumstances, to ourselves, right, to other people, and into a creator, right, where we are the determinant of what's going on around us, and that we can create our lives rather than being at the mercy of them, right, rather than surviving them, rather than just going through the motions, which I know that was the way that I lived my life for a very long time. Shane, kick us off. What's happening? What would you like some guidance around?
What's been going on for me? Uh, yeah, pretty massive shift in timelines, I guess you would say. For what I thought was true about investing here on the community, um, is just it's just not true for me anymore. So went into some pretty powerful talks around that. Um, yeah, it was fucking churning me up, and synchronistically in time with the full moon. and and I let it go. I just realized, like, it's like, for me to just put the money into here was actually like an easy option. um, and it's actually just a fucking massive distraction to to what I need to focus on over like the next year, like developing coaching and all of that, deepening into the WolfPack, going into this 12-month container. It's like this is my focus. There can be other little favors and things in there with the tantra training and stuff like this, but like this is my focus. And being here, um, like it's an amazing thing. I'm not making it bad, but I'm like, wow, like I've got pretty awesome boundaries here, but and there's a perception from other people in the community where it's sort of been filtering through now. And it's just projections, like I can clock it of other people because they've got weak as fuck boundaries and they're just stretched over everything and they're all losing their shit. And where I'm like, fuck, I only come in and do, a little bit. It's just, yeah, for me to be here is a beautiful experience, but it's not my passion. It's not my drive to create, this community at that level. Like that's a lot of energy. Like
Mm.
I can dip in and come along and work on projects and things like that. So yeah, it's just not true for me to put that money in here anymore. And also, like, it's a safe place to park the money, but there's no return on the investment. And, like when I go back to my choices, it's like I want to create a path to master myself around money and create a passive income. Well, why would I go and give all that startup funding into something, for safety. And there's also a beautiful love story intertwined in this as well. I have a new partner now in a different country, and our arrangement to sort of meet once every couple of months is that's a real stretch now, So now I'm on creating a path to relocate and to move to Australia, which is really, and it's funny when I look at it, how in line it is with my choices as well. So it's pretty exciting, and I was getting bugged out and all the how and the why, like, fuck, I've got this bus now. And I just come to this point, I'm like, I don't know yet how it's all going to work, but this will end up being a beautiful thing, right? Because I'm looking at still leaving it here and not have to pay anything. It's like the community can potentially use it to generate income for sort of 9 months out of the year or whatever, and then I can still come back for 2 or 3 months and holiday here and live in it. One of my choices was that I will have multiple dwellings around the world. And yeah, because I still really want to stay connected to this community and be part of it. And the work that's happening here, it's a beautiful thing in the world, but it's not my main focus and what my drive is at the moment. And so I was getting bogged out in a lot of things. So I'm just like, whoa, I'm having a massive subtraction at the moment of shit that is I'm allowing to take my time, you know. And as you were saying before, it's like, yeah, putting a lot of energy into stuff that just doesn't light me up. So clocking that pretty majorly, and so yeah, made some made a pretty drastic change, but it just everything feels in alignment now. It's like I don't know how it's all going to work yet, but like the will is engaged now for this change, and it's like all the synchronicities have just been starting to pop in again, and feels really cool. Scary as fuck, but you know, um, yeah, and like Melbourne as well. Not even that as a final destination, but it's back in line with where I was a year ago when I got rid of everything and I was just going to go to my brother's and be on the Sunshine Coast, because it's closer to travel through the world from there. Um, and it's like that choice coming in of being in Australia, but it's sort of taken on this different form, it's like, fuck, oh, wow, this is it. This is like three choices almost in one happening here, and also a pathway to all my other choices. It brings them in a lot easier, which is kind of cool. Um, and I think it's pretty awesome that between my two choices, to like relocate to a whole different country, or when 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 my choice of staying in an intentional community, fucking isolated, is an easy choice, I'm like, whoa, fucking, this is my easy choice. And I'm actually choosing growth for something different. I'm like, oh, we're in the real flex these days, and it's pretty magical.
Mm, mm. Because it wasn't always an easy choice, right?
Yeah.
Like way back when you first came to that place, that wasn't an easy choice, but you've shifted so fast. Now it's like, wow, this is kind of the safe place. This is the distraction. This is um, the the option that is actually going to keep me small.
Mm. And there's room to grow here and do events and do the training, but it's like, fuck, I've got to build the infrastructure and organize a community to create it here.
Yeah.
And like, that's the distraction point. It's like in order, and I know there's probably some beliefs here. It's like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff that has to happen first. But just clocking that in, it's like, because it's not set up, yet for hosting things and that. Um, and I don't want my focus to be in all the building of the infrastructure and all that. It's like to have a yoga studio here is my biggest thing, or a dance space, that's warm, heated, and like fucking creature comforts,
Mm-hmm.
open-ended shed. And you know, for me to go and create that, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I can fucking engage my will and create that because I want this for me and it's a good for everybody else as well. But shit, that's a big distraction to this work and what I need to be focused on for the next year. So for me, it's like to be in a place that's more supportive where I can just go. There's yoga practice, there's all this stuff. I can take my money, get some skin in the game with it and have that discipline. Uh, that side becomes a lot easier, keeping my ducks in a row because I'm in a fucking environment that supports it, like in a suburb, where yoga studios, all that sort of stuff is just there, in a place like Melbourne, rather than having to fucking create that here. It's just for my mental well-being. And it allows me a lot more time to be focused on this.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it. Because, and if it's your truth to be creating that, right, and to build the infrastructure and to, if that's true for you, then that's great, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just whether it's true for you or not, right? Because that is attached to somebody else's vision, not your vision, right? And that's something that you and I have definitely spoken about. And guess what? What I was getting as you were talking is we want to know why we're doing what we're doing. Why am I doing this? Yeah, because when you can drill into that and understand what you're getting out of it and what the payoff is, right? Then we're starting to get the goods because yeah, it keeps you distracted. Right? It's
Mm.
very easy to get on someone else to get on someone else's bandwagon and get swept away in that, which is, as I said, it's okay if that's your truth. But when you're losing connection with your own vision because you're filling your connection cup with somebody else's vision, right? Then you're straying from your path.
Mm. And there's payoff in that too, though, hey, it's not like it's all like necessarily a negative thing, like because there's many creations in that. It's like, oh shit.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and
It,
that's why
it's coming from that higher point, hey, where it's like clocking it and going, fuck,
yeah,
I'm getting these many payoffs, but fuck, I'm here for something different.
yeah. I mean, I tend to call them learnings or wins rather than payoff, only because I use that in a in a negative way. It's like, fuck, what's the payoff here? You're getting a payoff, which means you're getting something out of it that isn't serving you, right? Yeah, but and of course you're getting learnings because man, you've like learned a shitload just being in that environment and putting yourself out there the way that you have in that environment to apply the work that you've been learning, right? Massive. It is massive. And,
Yeah, it's been
just,
11 months this week that I've been here, almost a
yeah,
full.
yeah. So if you left the bus there, would you have somebody that manages it? I mean, is that what you're intending to do?
Yeah, like that's just because I was like, fuck, what do I do? Like, do I sell it or um, I was like, fuck, I've only got two options here. And then or move it off land. And then I was like, no, there's a third, there's a fourth, there's whatever. And I just went and spoke my truth with Dawn and Teus here, and just said, this is what's going on, and I'm in a real flux state at the moment. A lot of things are shifting and moving very fast, and it's not true for me to be here, or to invest in here and tie up my money on here. It just makes, for starters, logically no sense in terms of monetary, in terms of tying that up in here. And we just had this beautiful conversation. Fucking everybody had a turn at tears at one point, and that hearts just was fucking broke open because I just bought the vulnerability in there in a big way. Um, yeah, I mean, because I was cracked going in there, it was like speaking a real deep truth into a relationship, being seen in that. And was immense, and it sparked up so much for them, and they started going into a whole new creative way of looking at how we even bring people into the community here, like potentially taking off the full investment and going back to some of the ways it was before. It's a whole plethora of options, and they
Mm.
got really excited at the fact that shit, this could be here. And I'm like, this is your responsibility if I leave the bus here for 9 months. Like, that's on you to use it and generate some income out of it.
Yeah, but how does that income come back to you? And how do you safeguard yourself and your investment? Because you own this bus now, right?
Yes.
So what if something happens to it and nobody takes responsibility for it,
That's
right?
all the stuff that I haven't nutted out the how
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
why and all of that yet, because there's so many different options. But for me, like, I would like to get some sort of a percentage on return, at least getting a few grand a year, because to paying for maintenance and upkeep
Hang on, Shane. You're talking about getting your money working for you, right? But you're willing to leave something that you've invested your money into and only get a couple of grand a year from it? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah,
Is that really what you want? I mean, I'm gonna grill you on this because look, I
please.
saw I saw I saw this little video and it's about money, right? The
Yeah.
difference between saving money. Oh, I save my money and I put it in the brown envelope and I stick it under the mattress and right, that's me being a good girl and a good adult and whatever, right? Or the Robert Kiyosaki way of creating wealth is each dollar goes out and gets and makes new friends with other dollars and brings those dollars back home, right? This is how we create wealth. Saving money doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. You've invested your money in that bus. How are you going to get that money working for you? Yeah, because what I want to know, and this is the question for you, why would you leave that bus on that land? You're not willing to invest in it, but you're willing to leave something that you've invested in on that land for their benefit. So why would you do that?
Mm, that's a really good point.
Yeah, because you're getting something out of it, right? And
You
as we
can get
know,
get out of it. It's like 3 months. This is just a random figure where I have this beautiful fucking home in a beautiful place that I can come and experience.
yep, which would be great, right? If you were able to have that as one dwelling for your choice around having multiple dwellings,
Yeah.
right? Which is something I want to talk to you about because I'm creating a conglomerate group of people that have exactly the same choice, right? And we're going to go into group ownership of owning these properties all over the world. So let's talk about that later because that's a big thing in my world at the moment. I was talking about it with a whole group in Africa because I know that other people have that choice. And why would we do it on our own and leave these properties? We can gather at these properties, we can use these properties to go and write and do whatever and take families there. And, We got to stop doing things on our own.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, so that's great, but what happens to it for the rest of that time so that you're not just doing it to put it there on that land so that they'll think you're a good guy,
Hmm.
right? Because as we know, everything we do unconsciously is seeking validation, right? Oh, Shane's such a worthy guy, right? Look at what he's done. He's leaving this bus. We can do whatever the fuck we want with it.
Hmm.
Yeah. And whether or not somebody takes on that responsibility, yeah, and you pay them to look after to look after your bus,
Yeah.
and they rent it out, or they make sure that they Airbnb it, or whatever happens, right? Your bus is working for you, not just as a pawn to get you validation for being a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Because look, this
Great
is
flat.
the well, you said it yourself, right? You want your money to be working for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're gonna do that, then you got to do that, right? You got to take that piece seriously and say, I've got a bus. How can I make that work for me now?
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing because it was kind of, I didn't quite see the bus in that light. It was like, okay, I've used this portion of money for this. That's cool. It's kind of parked there. I can set it up in a way where it's not costing me anything, and I get a benefit of coming and having still experiences in here.
Hmm.
I wasn't even sort of thinking about this aspect of money that I've invested in here as getting a return on it. Now I was just looking at, what's left over and
Yeah,
how I'm going to use that in the future. But yeah, that's beautiful to see that. Fuck, this can be returning investment already.
yeah. Right here, right now. Look, if you're going every couple of months until you relocate, you could be renting your B&B, you could be renting out your bus, right? While you're not there, so that it's not just sitting there empty. And look, this is shifting our mindset from being poor people to wealthy people, right? Where you just look at things a different way. There's nothing bad about that, right? It's just simply getting your money working for you, right? Rather than it just sitting there doing nothing. And that's what most people's money does, and that's why most people are not wealthy. Yeah, I mean, the way that I look at wealth is like, man, if I'm not on the bones of my ass, think of how many more people I can help. Right? Trying to help people, which is what most people that come into this work want to do. They want to serve other people, but they can't because they haven't shifted this piece and they're struggling financially on the bones of their ass trying to help other people.
Yeah, that's definitely not in my choices.
Exactly, right? It's like I know I want to write more books, but no one pays me to write the books. Yeah, and you don't make money out of books, but you do help people with books. Because people that wouldn't put their hand up and step into a space like this or a training or a program, they will sit at home and read a book, right? And that's something that's really close to my heart. So in terms of becoming wealthy, it means you've got more options. You can help more people. You can serve, right? You can come all the way through the hero's journey and get the treasure, right? You bring it back to society. That's the whole journey of being here on this planet.
Mm.
Yeah, so think about that, right? There's some really good pieces in there, and now just receiving that, your mind will be already thinking, ah, shit, cool, okay, right, didn't see that piece. Now, yeah, awesome, cool. What else? What else have we got in the house? What else is in the house? I'm a poet, didn't know it. What else is going on? Something that's been sitting with you around anything, themes or topics. You can can throw things in the chat box if you want to as well.
I've got something.
What do you got, Aaron?
I can hear an echo. I hate it when Zoom echoes at me. I don't, I don't like looking at myself either on Zoom, and that's kind of part of what's I'm sort of thinking what's on top, and there's all sorts of things bubbling away. But one of the biggest things for me, a year or so ago, I had this experience where I walked into a dairy and someone else walked into the dairy, and I just stood there. And I suddenly realized for the first time in my entire life, I didn't feel like a fat freak shit on someone's shoe heel that had to hide when another human being needed something or was doing something. And it was glorious. At 50 something, realizing that in this tiny little prosaic experience in a shop, in a grotty little dairy, that I was actually part of the human race. And that's a kind of a bit of an overblown way of talking about it, but to me that was quite emblematic, and it stuck with me because it was a real experience of something I'd been working towards and been lacking in the way I was programmed. And the thing that I've sort of been thinking as I've been going more and more quite slowly through the level 1 material is, I mean, all the stuff we've been talking about, like creating a life, financing it, designing it, etc., is all sort of bubbling away. But a basic kind of thing for me is just feeling okay in my skin. I've just done that somatic piece, that the playing with the breathworks and things, and in the book you've written, what is your reflections? And I think for every single one, I'm like, this is really hard. I don't want to feel my body. It's really difficult. And I have to just bring it back. It's like Joe Dispenza says, tell your body to sit down like an animal. It can sit there for 5 minutes, then it can get up. And I'm like, just sit. And those somatic experiences, because I'm not a deep breather. I'm not all this sort of not. But getting through that and going, oh wow, that was actually quite nice. And going, I can do nice. I'm allowed nice. And that's a bit of a revelation too. I've trashed myself through my whole lifetime, pushed myself, and so it's kind of building on some things that I've finally sort of starting to come to, of feeling sometimes okay in my skin and okay in my world, even though I'm broke and I'm flatting and I'm this and I'm that and I've got chronic fatigue and blah blah blah. I still get this. I hit this sort of point where I go, oh, I don't know if that's real. Is it going to be taken away from me? Is it going to last? And I don't know that that's necessarily my reflection or question, but I think my reflection and questions around it all are, well, I don't know what they are. I'm just talking it out. So that's me.
Yeah, beautiful. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. And I know I saw some, heads that were nodding, and it's just, it still fascinates me that we feel so alone in our lives as humans, even though we are navigating so many similar things and so much of the same thing in terms of our not belonging and not feeling like we fit in the world and not being lovable and all of the other beliefs that that you find, and all of you on the call are aware of those, because I know you've all done that work in terms of knowing what those are that sit underneath. And at the core, I know you said, I've kind of explained it in kind of this, quite big, impactful, hard-hitting way, but it is that way, right? At the core, it is that way. It is that life or death, I'm not going to survive this. it is that for us, and the level of fear and the level of feeling that it brings up, is that real, right? It is that severe. So, you know, to kind of knock it down, most people are, not most, many people out there in the world are walking with that level of fear in them, right? That level of severity that they don't belong, they shouldn't exist in the world, and, you know, whatever version you have, right? Because not belonging is one of the most common beliefs out there, which is crazy because we're all human, right? There's no way we can't not belong because we're all part of the human race. Yet we feel it, right? We feel it. And the other thing, you know, the thing that I wanted to share, because not belonging is one of my top 4 beliefs, right? I was adopted, so I was looked after by nurses in the hospital. I missed that very early nurturing period, right, between me and my mother. So there's no, yeah, absolutely no doubt in my mind why I created a not belonging belief, right? And being alone and unsupported and not worthy and all of that stuff, right? And what landed for me, and you may have heard me say this before, is that so many of us wait to feel something before we can actually allow ourselves to be it, right? I need to feel like I belong before I belong. Yeah, I need to feel confident before I can go and offer coaching, Shane. You know, I need to have everything in place before I can, you know, I need it to look a certain way before I can do the thing. But feeling it first is so often the way that many people have as a condition. I need to feel brave before I can do that. I need to feel strong. I need to feel like I belong before I step into that place. And it's backwards because, honey, you may never feel it, right? And when I realized that, I was like, oh my God. And what I learned is that I have to choose it. I have to choose to belong, even when I don't feel it, right? And this is the tricky thing, because we're so run by our feelings, because they feel so real, right? And they feel so suffocating and debilitating and overwhelming, and, you know, all of that. And as we know in this work, one of the first premises we learn is that our thoughts and feelings aren't real, right? But they feel real. So we have to learn how to not buy into our feelings and to actually go against our feelings and go, you know what? I feel like I don't belong. Am I going to step into that room anyway? Fuck yes, I am, right? And I had to do this when I went to LA to hang out with my coach and all of his like razor's edge top tier clients, right? Did my not belonging shit come up? Hell yes, it did. I was surrounded by people that are creating at a level that just blew my mind, right? And I was just like, whoa. And I had to choose every single day to be in that room with them, which went against the way that I felt. Yeah, because if I had have gone with my feelings, I would have got on the fucking plane home. I wouldn't have been able to be in the room. So we have to choose it. Yeah, we have to choose it. And there's a big part of me that got really excited as you were talking, because you actually had an experience of it, right? You had an experience of feeling okay in your body. And now that you've had it once, you can have it again. And that's really exciting, right? And you've still got a really well-worn path, a very deep groove, yeah, in one direction, which is to not feel okay in your body. Yeah, and it's just going to be this practice, yeah, of you pulling your orientation to have more of those experiences in your body where you're okay, yeah, to start to reorientate yourself. And it will happen, yeah, with practice. And it's practice, just like with anything, right? You learn to ride a bike, you practice it. Yeah, I know that you would have heard the innocence, right? Innocence is the space that we cultivate, that we practice in, so that we're outside of all of that other stuff, outside of our perception, our old thoughts, our old feelings, all of that. And my coach shared with us on a training that it took him 2 years to feel like he was actually in innocence. Right? 2 years. I don't think I would have tried for that long. I probably would have given up. But luckily I'd done a lot of work in the body, right? Which is what you're talking about, the breath, just being okay with being in the body, especially when it hasn't been a safe place all of our lives, because for many of us it hasn't. And we've done whatever we can to get out of it, right? To take our consciousness out, right? Not safe here, disassociate, head walking around on legs. That's where most of us go, right? We just we occupy this part and we forget about this part, being in this part. And when you said doing nice, I can do nice, and it landed for me because I'd mentioned the permission piece, right? Giving yourself permission to do nice, right? Giving yourself permission to actually experience that feeling, right? You described it as nice or, calm or blissful or peaceful or, whatever it is. That's your version. Yeah, give yourself permission to have that. Because that's another thing that you have to choose for yourself. Because again, you might not ever feel like you deserve it. Yeah? Because if you got big not worthy stuff, which another one of my top 4, yeah, and if the childhood stuff, and I know you're talking about adoption, and you nodded your head, and when that stuff is there, we so often will sit in a place of not deserving. Yeah. So if you know that you may not ever feel like you deserve it, then you have to choose it for yourself. And practice, right? Practice. I was talking to a friend yesterday because we were talking about boredom, and someone had said to me that they were bored, and I was like, man, I'm never bored. I'm never bored. Like, I have so much stuff that I want to do and create in the world, and it's like the life of an entrepreneur, right? I'm never bored. But what even is boredom? Right? Boredom is pain. Boredom is not being able to be with yourself, right? Not being able to just be with whatever's going on for you, and then it can be labeled as boredom. I've got to do something, right? I've got to fix it. And being okay to be bored, being okay to be in that, and that it's not something that you have to resolve or fix or, is something that came for me as you were talking. It's like just practicing being in, being in your body, being in yourself, being with yourself, occupying yourself. And the other thing that I wanted to say, because it's something that you did mention, and this is a huge one, and it's been a huge one for me. Like, when I went to LA, I was living in a little unit, right? Like, I was a single mom. I was not that long off the benefit, right? I was on the sole parent benefit. I was still living in this little unit. Yeah, and then I was getting on a plane to go to LA and hang out with all of these next level creators. Some of them are worth millions, right? Millions. Like, one of them, who I was sitting in a waterhole with, chatting away, was telling me about a property that she'd just bought in Queenstown. She's over in Australia. She's like this tech genius woman, gorgeous. I just bought a property down in Queenstown, and then I found out later, because I did a little digging, 17 million. Property in Queenstown. And I'm like, holy shit, sitting in the waterhole, right, just hanging out with her. But this is the piece that I got. Your circumstances, your current circumstances are no indication of where you are going, right? Unless you let them. unless you let them be, right? I was in a little unit and my little guy brought up some pictures of it yesterday and he goes, Mom, remember this is the house that we were in before the last house? And I was like, yeah, I remember, all right. You know? And now, you know, I look at my view, which is there.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not in the little unit anymore, right? No indication of where you're going. Yeah, no indication. And you ask, you know, because I did talk about wealth creation before, you ask people like Robert Kiyosaki and all of these, you know, Tony Robbins and all of these very, very wealthy, very successful people, and a lot of them, man, their start was not that. Yeah. And Robert Kiyosaki shares a story where they gambled everything they had, right? And they were living with other people because they just had no money, but they were building up this business, right? For anyone to look at them, they had nothing, but they were building, right? They didn't let their current circumstances be any indication of where they were going. Yeah. So it's just a piece that I just definitely wanted to drop in there, because once that piece landed for me, I was able to be okay driving the shitty car, living in the crappy place, you know. I was able to be okay with it because I knew it wasn't where I was heading. Yeah. Mindset shifts, big mindset shifts. So keep practicing, Aaron. I'm really excited that you had that experience, because you will have it more. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That permission really struck me when you were talking before, because I know that's something I've struggled with, and I've had that feedback from other people. You know, it's not just in my head. I know that not giving myself permission has kind of been a lifetime thing. So I really like that notion of giving myself permission to experience that good feeling, that expansion feeling, that growth feeling, rather than, yeah, like you say, there's an old track and it's very easy for me to slip back into that. So
Yeah. Very easy.
practice
Very,
and
very
permission.
beautiful practice and permission, because a lot of us are waiting, you know, which is my whole direction with this permission piece, where, you know, when you think about it, we are conditioned from the moment we're born to seek permission from outside of ourselves. Yeah, it's like, please, miss, can I go to the toilet? Right? Shit, we have to have someone's permission to go to the loo. Yeah, and unconsciously what that means is that we're actually waiting for it in our lives as adults, but nobody's giving it to us anymore because, you know, mum's not around or whatever. But we need to be the ones to give it to ourselves. Yeah, yeah, cool. So go and experience all that beautiful bliss. Yeah, because it's there for you.
I will.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Shane, did you have something you wanted to add, or quickly, and Moira and Jody, do you want to come into the conversation with anything that's sitting with you?
It was just a little thing that dropped in around the boredom, and never getting bored anymore. It's like it's almost the opposite of that now. When I get too fuck, there's too much to do, because I actually enjoy just putting myself aside for 2 or 3 hours and just fucking focusing on the breath. Some of it's as a tool to bring the ducks back online if I'm overthinking and that. But I'd fucking love it, because then after that time and that rest, that consciously resting, it's like that's when all the magic starts coming through, and I just love it. I had a battle with it yesterday, because I've been away out of the country for 7 days, and then come back and had a busy Friday, and then Saturday we had a full day community day, with a human design workshop and all of this, and then Sunday was just like I set this intention. I'm just having a me day today. I rest and got into a bit of a battle of, oh, should do this, should do that. Yeah. And just fuck, it took almost hours to be able to just let go. And I ended up speaking into it with someone, and when that happened, it was like the shift in the afternoon. Fuck, the magic just started unfolding. you know, when I was like, right, I'm going to go for a walk, do this. And then the synchronicity of who I bumped into, which led into this, oh, I'm going to go for a spa. And I just had a shower, you know, and I'm like, oh, nah. And then I'm like, hang on, that sounds way more alive for me. Just sounds a little bit more alive than going back to the bus. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow that. And had this beautiful conversation for like an hour and a half, and you know, and just at such rest and ease, and finish the day up with, man, that was what a gift of an experience that was, to, you know, the battle of that and clocking that. And
Yeah.
that shit just doesn't happen, you know, in all the doing, even though there was potentially, I could view it as a negative experience that I was in that battle with myself. But the gift of going through that and coming on the other side was like, none of that would have happened if I was just doing all day, you know. And it's like learning to know thyself in those moments. And sometimes it's not necessarily comfortable.
Most often it's not comfortable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's
Yeah.
yeah, because and then times when it does bring great comfort, where it's just bliss. I'm just fuck. I'm letting everything go. It can fuck off. It doesn't need to happen now. I can come back to it another time. I'm just going to lie in the sun for 3 hours and
Yeah.
do battle in my own mind.
That's it. Yeah. Beautiful. Moira, were you going to jump in?
I am. I'm aware of time and the gift it is to be here. So I'll keep it brief. Yeah, thank you for those who have contributed. I'm so curious about you and your lives. And Aaron, I just so honor you for going there in that conversation. When you think that this doesn't mean anything to anyone else, that's the thread, you know. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for what um my listening has contributed to me. I just wanted to say briefly, I came across something I wanted to give to Jacqueline, but now feels like a perfect moment um, because I've received, you know, the writing group and whatever. I actually don't have a lot of resources right at this time, and I'm someone who's very resistant about even saying that. Or taking more than I give is difficult. Um, so that's a challenge for me to even jump in, you know, when because we're really moving from transactional to relationship in reality. Um, anyway, I found this thing and I thought anything I find about wolfies, I'm going to give to you because, you know, I'm the poster girl for lone wolfness. Um, anyway, that's another story. But I found a saying and I thought it was so cool. And I don't even know who wrote it. So it hasn't even been accredited to someone, which is unfortunate. But anyway, here it is. It says, "Know the wolves that hunt you. In time, they will be the dogs that bring your slippers." And so, what I can share is from my experience, which is my most powerful place to speak. Um, that much I know is true. Yeah. And the difficult parts, it's I mean it's old, but it's new. The darkest time is before the dawn, always. And I resisted dark parts, you know, and it's just to sit in the feeling of what's actually there right in the minute. Um, is a lifetime's work. No wonder people run away from it because we like an easy fix. And I'm not your easy fix girl. You know, I help people who, or I actually, you know, I support people who want to feel their feelings. And I never thought that was a thing. I thought, how do I say what I do? You know? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, because I had to go and sit with mine. Yeah, big time. And a lot. I got great training, got great, not not a judgment, but I didn't get it in LA and I didn't get it by paying a lot of money. I got it in a very difficult way. And I know that you have too, Jacqueline. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Good to
Cool.
be here, and I hope I have contributed to you in at least some measure that you have contributed to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have.
Have fun. Have a good life.
With
Have a
your
good life for when I see each other again, but I hope we do.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure we will. It's
Yeah.
and beautiful. Look, what you've shared is powerful because um, so much of what we say, even what you just said to Aaron, sort of might seem, that someone won't sort of get it or it won't be as significant, and it's hugely significant, right? Everything that you've just shared is hugely significant. I think what came for me while you were talking, like this transactional nature, it's huge, right? And I was talking
Highly
to
conditioned.
yeah, and I was absolutely,
I've
I
got to
was
serve me first.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I was talking to my boys about it the other day. This whole it's got to be fair, it's got to be fair. Things,
But
when
life's not fair.
and life's not fair, and it never
It's
will
the
be.
illusion.
It's like, yeah, exactly. And how can we be okay to receive, even if we don't give anything back?
I think I had this image when you were talking before about this woman who had $180 million house and stuff. And I'm trying not to make my life be relevant to other people's lives. But I had this image of dogs, and like wolves or whatever. Or wolves are a great one. If you just, or dogs are wolves actually, they were wolves and then they become dogs. I understand, but I don't know for sure. But if you just shut your eyes and imagine all these dogs, running around Wellington, just like people, and think, oh, that one's got $118 million and that one's got that. Well, actually, they're just dogs, they're just animals. And we are animals, and we forget that we are actually a part of nature, all of that other stuff. Like, I'd love my hands on the money, and maybe I'll find my way to do that. But what I've done already is enough, and who I am is enough. And there's something said about something, I don't know, not permission, but something else, but even permission, that we're looking for permission. Well, we have to give ourselves permission to get permission from the outside. Do you know what I mean? Or to not even want permission. It's all that know yourself stuff. That's why know yourself has stood the test of time, because it is there, but everything is inside. The trick is, how do you get it out? And Jacqueline, I think you're doing a great job, and it's a pleasure to, participate. Yeah,
Awesome. Beautiful.
cool.
And it is. How do we get inside, right? And it's like that's the know thyself, one of the biggest
It's
premises. It's huge.
it's the juiciest territory.
Yeah,
It's the greatest trip in the world, in
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a spiritual teacher who said to me, he said, the universe is happening inside of you. There's actually nothing outside of you, right? It's all in here. It was like, ah. And I love that because it just means there's no point in blaming. There's no point in getting angry at anyone else outside of ourselves because we're creating it, right? The universe is in here. And I love that. And so much of what else you said, Moira, around like we just came up with the podcast name, and it's going to be called Shit to Gold, right? That's what it's going to be called. That's the podcast, right? And that's what it is, because when we resist our shit, right, our problems, our darkness, right, all the stuff that we don't want people to see about us, and we're actually resisting our gold.
Oh,
Yeah, and when we avoid like conflict and the sticky bits, and we just want to feel better, we just want to feel good, and that's the problem with so much of what's happening in the world these days, is that we just want to feel good and we just do whatever it takes to feel good, right?
Well, we live in a world of polarity, so if you can actually feel the bad, you'll
Wow,
stop avoiding the good.
yeah, if you can actually just feel it all without labeling it as good and bad, right? We just feel it as part of us, then the parts of us that we've avoided actually lead us to the creative parts, the golden parts, the incredible parts of ourselves. And you're right, so many people are just scared to look, right? Scared to see those parts of what they make it mean about themselves and to feel it, right? To feel it. Because feeling it is associated with bad. I shouldn't be feeling this way. This is bad. And we've got to feel it, right? You probably heard there's another expression, you got to feel it to heal it. Well, you do. You do.
Oh,
You have to
in
feel
my
it.
experience, the people who refuse to feel their feelings, and I've been one of them. I've had some feelings I don't want to feel.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't think I fall into this category. But those who persistently and consistently refuse to feel their feelings
yeah,
are the most dangerous people in the world, because they will justify whatever they do.
yeah. And they're numb.
Because yeah, but numb is dangerous. Numb is really dangerous.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I was trying to think of something that it's one end of an extension cord looking for another. It's kind of energetic. They
Mhm.
will find people to harm. So we have to we have we have a we I think that we have a bigger and a more human responsibility to feel our feelings that's beyond ourselves, which is kind of a it's a I don't know what you call it. It's the jiggle in the move from transactional to relational, because
Yeah.
we have to realize that when I hurt someone else, I hurt myself, and when I hurt myself, I actually hurt someone else. It's like the two-way of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that hurt people hurt people.
I really dislike that phrase, and I'll just tell you why, if I have a moment, is I've been a very hurt person, and
Mhm.
I don't hurt people. I am a,
Or themselves, right? Or
yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
no.
It
Yes,
either,
no,
it either goes
I,
inward or
I
out.
personally want to stand up for the people who have been tragically hurt and do not go on to hurt other people.
Yeah,
They
but
don't.
are they hurting themselves though? I'm not saying it as
Yeah,
as a blanket rule, yeah, but a lot of people can't see past the, you know, the um the behavior of others to the hurt that lies beyond. Yeah, nobody is born
I, yeah, I think
and we are products of our upbringing. The way that we behave is a product of our upbringing, and getting angry at people for the way that they behave, all you need to do is ask them about their childhood and you'll find it.
I know, and that's the area we can. But what I would just say, there are a lot of people who got a very shit deal there, went on to, and in New Zealand, because the report came out in the last few weeks, got a very shit deal in the systems in this country as well, and they were not responsible for that. So when we used words like hurt people, I see the other side, because I see the enormous courage that is taken for at least 2,000 hurt people in this country to stand up and speak the truth of what has gone. And it's only the truth at an individual and a societal level that will shift things, in my opinion. And,
Look, I
I
agree.
can have an opinion, you
Of
know,
course you can. Of course you can.
I, you know,
Yeah.
and so I'm not trying to put my beliefs on anyone, but I'm just trying to state my opinion.
Yeah.
And I've seen more courage in the hurt community than in the um, financially endowed community. And we're moving from transactional to relational, and we are moving in. I believe, and this is why I live for is I believe that we are living to transcend this whole victim persecutor mentality for
Yeah.
everyone. For everyone, it hurts all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that description of hurt people doesn't it's exactly what it's talking about, to get out of off the drama triangle, right? Out of this victim rescuer persecutor dynamic, which most people are in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and I know exactly what you're saying. It's not necessarily that the hurt gets thrown outwards, but it gets thrown inwards, right? And
And
when it can be
yeah.
transcended on both levels, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And what I'm talking about is bringing
Yeah.
compassion to all, right?
Mm.
Bringing compassion to
Mm.
all, because we're all human. We've all navigated varying degrees of stuff that's happened to us in our pasts, and how do we become more empowered, and how do we become more compassionate to ourselves and other people as we're all rising in consciousness,
We get back into the body and feel like our own and share it. And
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
That's the begin. Whatever light you found for yourself, just grow it and share it.
yeah.
It's
Well, and know
yeah.
thyself, right?
Yeah.
Bring the awareness back in. But I
Yeah.
love what you've said, and just to round this piece up, and then I'm going to ask Jodie if she's got anything alive with her. But feeling your feelings, right? And feeling your feelings first. I love that you've shared that, because I know that this level of the consciousness, right, which is what I spoke about in terms of your thoughts and feelings aren't real. That's a level of consciousness that has a danger of people bypassing their feelings, right? And I know I've done this.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Me
I've done
too.
this, and
We
I
know
have.
how painful it is.
Yeah, so it's like, man, I've got to feel this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I can apply the consciousness as well, but I've got to feel the
Feel it
feelings.
first.
Yeah, feel it first. So, yeah, got to feel it first and then apply the consciousness. So, not using it as a bypassing tool, which I've definitely done. So, feeling your feelings, allowing the heart to bleed is the way that I've languaged it before. And it's like a friend of mine, he said something. No, I said something to him, like I was having a real go at him, and he goes, "Ouch." And I was like, wow.
I do that.
Yeah, nobody had ever said that to me before. And he was just sharing with me that he felt that, right? The ouch. And I was like, man, that's powerful. It's really powerful. So allow yourself to ouch.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Maura. It's lovely to have you
Okay.
here.
Cool.
Loved your little quote that you gave me. So thank you for the
I'll put it in your chat box or something, shall I? You want that one?
Yeah, would love it. Jodie, anything's alive in you?
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
I just made a few notes, and at first I thought, no, I'm just feeling, a little bit like sitting with myself. But I was observing the discussion, and I noticed that for everyone, like we were saying, that all behavior is adaptive to whatever our own experience is. And then I've been just noticing lately, doing a little bit of more inner work, is the different sides of myself that I'm fully judgmental of. So one of the big ones that keeps coming up is it's an ego play, but how I always put myself under others, and how that's some sort of adaptive egoic behavior, and it always ends up spinning and stinging me in the ass. And I'm a Scorpio, but I really see that it's a strategy. However, because I used to hang out with massive rock and roll stars when I worked for Warner Music, and would, be showing Bob Geldof around town, and then all the different ones. And I think people used to connect with me. I used to be able to do that job is because I treated everyone equally, and I just treated them like humans. So it was my job that they were comfortable. And then when I was Sogyal Rinpoche's assistant, the same thing. He even said that he liked me to drive him because I wasn't doing the guru worshipping. But I'm always putting myself under them. And when I do my clients now with massage, I get into a space where we're in equal balance because it's energy work. So I found that sort of space where, where I live, there's lots of people who I could put above me, millionaires who come, but they're bringing all their bits to me, their health bits, and I totally respect them. And I notice that when I'm in that space, everything becomes energy. And when I don't know if I'm making sense to anyone right now, because I was just, thanks Shane, writing some notes. Like I go into this space as a massage therapist or working with energy, that we're all inseparable and we're all equal, and that's where it's like, but where I explain to people that working with energy and the disease and the emotional conflict they have is just a blockage. And so with the work that I do, I've been able to introduce, sort of with a dance, just a new pattern, an introduction for that energy to go a different way. And yet I feel like a traitor, because I am just like a learning student on this path, but I constantly am undervaluing myself. And because of that, others in my life turn up undervaluing me, or the topic comes up a lot. And it's a real mind fuck, to say the least. And when I walk in nature, like this morning, sitting on the rocks and my dog just sitting next to me and we're just staring out, and I'm sort of saying to Source or God or whoever we label it, the universe, to nature, to Papa Tarangi, I was going, give me a message here. And the message was nothing. The message was, I'm looking for direction, and I'm sitting with my dog, and that is it. And a seagull flew past, and that is it. And over the weekend, my daughter watched Kung Fu Panda a number of times, and she's getting brave to start watching movies. And I was like, wow, this is sort of just like the Matrix in kids form. And she is just getting all these beautiful messages. And so I'm talking around myself, but
Keep talking, Jodie. Keep talking. I'm listening. Keep talking. I just got to go for a quick pee. Keep talking.
Okay, pee away. Yeah, I'm done with undervaluing myself, and I have all these creator circle ideas, but I'm avoiding them because I'm so comfortable and so used to being the lower person, because somehow it gives people permission. I don't know. It just gives me a place to belong, but it doesn't feel right anymore, if that makes sense. It feels
Yes, it does.
that's sort of it. Otherwise I'll keep just expressing it from different angles, but my observer is trying to just give me a more solid, grounded perspective, and I don't know how to get out of it, but I'm just sharing this experience with you.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you've shared. And I totally get what you're saying. This is so pertinent. And it actually has got really cool threads and links to what we've been discussing through the call, right? I've spoken a bit about this putting self below others, right? Like positioning. Actually, I gave a reading to someone while I was in Africa, because she does this, right? And she's one of my clients, and she was in Africa with me. I've never met her in person until now, which was very cool because she lives in Australia. She positions herself unconsciously below everyone else, right? And it's an unconscious thing that plays out to reconfirm your beliefs, right, of being powerless and unworthy, and whatever your version of that is. And it's a choice that we have. And I love that you said it doesn't feel right anymore, right? It's like, because it would have felt right, would have felt very comfortable back in the day. God, that expression's coming up again. And now it doesn't, right? Which is what I heard, right? That's what I heard, right? When you were when I was peeing, it doesn't feel comfortable anymore to position yourself below people because your awareness is shifting, yeah? You're growing, you're shifting, you're changing, you're evolving, and you don't want to pedestal people anymore.
Yeah,
Right?
I see it's a strategy.
That is a
It's
strategy.
an egoic identity, a strategy to put myself under others so I can go under the radar. Well, it's a little bit lazy in a way because that way yeah,
To keep
it's like
yourself safe, right? Keep yourself safe, keep yourself small, keep yourself in those patterns of reconfirming beliefs, right? Yeah, yeah. And I remember a friend of mine years ago, because I started when I started working as an architect, I was working for the best practice in New Zealand, right? And where there were 3 architects as part of this partnership. And I remember a friend of mine saying, well, they wear undies too, you know. And I was like, yeah, God, that's true, right? But one of the things that I was really curious about what you said, this whole we're all equal thing, right? It's like, where's that coming from? Because yeah, of course you're right. We're all one. We're all connected, right? We're all human. But where is that coming from? Because we're all equal, right? That, to me, that screams I'm trying to get away from believing that we're not, right? Yeah, because if you've got a pattern of positioning yourself underneath people, you have to say, we're all equal, right? Because that makes it all better, right? It's like, no, 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 no. Because the thing is, and here's the kicker, right? Because if you're carrying this we're all equal thing, how are you going to find authority for yourself to be able to value yourself? Right, to be able to put yourself out there in the way that you want to put yourself out there, with the work you do, with the people you want to serve, with the people that you want to help. Because if you don't do that, then they're not going to see you as the authority. Right? And I'm not talking about authority as in dictators and nasty, people that use their authority in ways that don't help people. I'm talking about leaders who want to lead people with their hearts. Right? But they still have to have authority. They still have to have credibility. And in that, we're not equal. Yeah.
that it's like because I'm sure I've got dyslexia, but it's taking its time to get around. It's like a whole new concept. So I'm stuck there and I'm having a big fight with myself in that corner, and then because of that I'm fighting with the world, because it's like I'm just trying to feel into that.
Yeah.
Because part of me is like, okay, we're vibrating at different levels. If we're all energy, there are some people without judgment that are vibrating at a much lower level or experience of their evolution. And these are all just words that I'm just saying. And if we're all inseparable, I don't know if this is really existential, but we're leading our way back to a space, then there has to be leaders. There has to be people who are sharing in whatever unique way they can to serve others, to invite them into the space, for lack of better words.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. That, different vibrational frequency, right? Some people are just navigating life with a very low, with a much lower, much denser frequency. And then on the other side of that, there are more high vibrational beings out there, right? Who have, through their awareness, through consciousness, through embodiment, through alignment, have lifted their frequency, so they're vibrating at a completely different vibration, right? Frequency. And there's no good and bad in that. It's just simply different levels of where people are at and how they're energetically vibrating. But in terms of saying that we're all equal and that can you see where that's coming from, right? That it's a reaction to, I don't feel equal, I don't feel like up where I want to be, or where you can see yourself going to, right? Because that's why I'm getting excited in all of this conversation, because you're getting a feel of what level you want to be at, but your ego is going, but hang on a minute, that's not my level. My level's been down here and going up there, but I'm so used to positioning myself under these people, I can't compute, right? Don't get it.
Yeah, kind of think, oh no, but here we go. It's an inner battle, and thank you for this language, Jacqueline. I'm gonna listen to this again. I just process it so slowly, but I get a feel of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's time, like there's this big, it's time, but how do I evaluate that with the correct language so that I'm not just going to trick myself and self-sabotage again?
Yep.
That's what I do in relationships. I feel all this love, and then I go and pluck up things, or in a way, for myself, and and then I see this beautiful child of mine navigating all similar things, but being so open to learning. Last night we did some research on Helen Keller and how much she achieved in her life when she had very little ability with senses. And it was blowing my child's mind to see that. And I was thinking, yeah, some of us are different, but how do I keep on moving?
Yeah.
And not keep myself stuck? Because I think I replied to your voice messages before, and it was just like, I'm confused, I'm stuck. And so it's like such a familiar energy for me that I just keep it there,
Yeah, and the way out of that confusion and out of that stuckness, because it becomes a story, right? Oh, I'm confused, right? And there's my story. I live in this confusion, right? But when you know what you want, when you know what you would love, and you're very, very clear on that, and you follow it, then there's no confusion. Right? The confusion is simply that you're not connected to what you love, and you're not going for it, right? Life becomes much simpler in that. But what I'm getting from this conversation is you're looking for your own internal authority, right? You're looking for your new level, right? And what that is, and your own inner authority, your new level, and what leadership truly means to you. Not dysfunctional leadership, functional leadership, because you got to know that if you want to step into it. Yeah. I mean, I would write down both sides of the coin, because we work with both in this work. What's your dysfunctional shit going on about leaders, right? And all the dictatorship and all the shit. And then what's the functional side of that? Who are the people that inspire you in their leadership? The heart-centered people, the people that are here to serve, and what do they look like? What are their qualities, right? Because that's the authority that you not only want to be inspired by and have as your peers at your new fucking level, right? Which is way up here. Let's just blast the ceiling off of that sucker, right? And get really clear on that, because the clearer you get on that, the less power all of the old shit's going to have on you. It'll still be there. Oh no, Jody, you need to position yourself under that person. You'd be like, yeah, okay, see you, but I'm focused on this. This is my new level. This is my new authority. These are the people that I'm inspired by. This is my higher definition of leadership. Beautiful conversation.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And I see it's a big piece about, I hope I'm not echoing, am I?
Little bit, but it's okay. I can still hear you.
Yeah. Is about receiving this, receiving, because I'm really good at being harmful, treating myself bad. And it shows with an autoimmune disease on the physical level that's manifested. But even when I did the Victor Hugo's course recently and Kim's course, it was the receiving, big blockages, just block. Yeah, I can give. Wow, I can give like a nasty girl, but I cannot receive. And it's again, yeah, thank you. That's
So
juicy.
give yourself permission to receive, and then set up little interactions, little moments, get your friends around, tell them that you're working on this piece of receiving, yeah, and that if they've got it in their hearts, when you're clear, it's easy, right? You would have learnt the wheel of consent, right, with Kim and Victor, I'm sure. When you're in the wheel of consent and you say to someone, look, would it be in your heart to come over and help me with this receiving piece? Would you, draw on my back, or give me a face massage, or wash my hair, or whatever? It doesn't matter what it is, but you just tell people that you're working on this piece. And if they have it in them, right, because you're being very clear, some of them might not. You know what? I need help with that bit too. But hey, you've just given me a reference point that I can actually ask people because I can give myself permission to receive, right? And start calling that shit in. Because again, like we were talking about with Aaron, you've got to start reorientating yourself so that you're not just giving all the time. Right? You want to start evening out the scales, and even to the point, I know you're a massage therapist and giving is such a big part of what you do, but even to the point where you are starting to receive more than you are giving.
Yeah, totally. And then I see when I am receiving, when I don't receive, I end up getting angry. And it's so funny because, I really had a debilitating back muscle a week or so ago where I was out for a week. And when I Googled whatever that place, that part of my back, it was guilt. And I'm like going, guilt. No, I don't feel guilty. But when people give me things, like someone had to do my washing, someone had to take me into the A&E, I felt guilty. And then, interestingly enough, those people threw out their cart and said, pay me the money for the petrol. But it was like, fuck, I've just instantly manifested shit because I couldn't receive without feeling guilty. And I don't know if I'm thinking too much into that, but it's just been constant like that.
I mean, it's clear. It's very clear. So that's where your work is, right? And it's up to you to track this guilt and see this guilt and send it packing, right? And just choose. I'm not going to feel guilty about this shit anymore. Like I said to Aaron, and this is for everyone, because we've all got this shit playing out. We have to choose to belong. We have to choose to deserve this, right? Because no one's going to wrap it up in a little present and give it to us. Right? We have to choose it. Yeah, and it takes practice. All right, beautiful call, everybody. Powerful stuff. Thank you so much for showing up for yourselves. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and bringing these pieces that we could start to unpack and that I can bring teaching points around, right? Because there's so much gold here. In being able to deliver a creator orientation, a creator perspective to what's going on for you, right? Because there is always one, and we can't see ourselves the way someone else can, especially a trained coach, right? So when you step into a call like this, you get the goods. So we will put this call up in the group so that other people can benefit from this incredible sharing, right? Because all of our heads were going whenever someone was speaking. Everyone could feel it and have some resonance with some of the pieces that everyone was sharing. So absolutely inspired by your vulnerability and your choice to be here and be so open with what's happening in your worlds, and I get that you guys all got some juice. So right, let's howl our way out of this call, because this is what we do in the wolf pack, because we're not lone wolves anymore, are we, Moira? We have a pack, we have a group of us. So take yourselves off mute, howl it out with me. We'll close this call and I'll see you on the next one. Beautiful. Big love, everybody. See you in the group. See you on the next call. Take care of yourselves. Ciao for now. Big love.